view of the economy. Prateek Agrawal, good morning. Thank you for joining us. What is your view? You think that the wheel has turned? The so-called thesis which everyone was working with couple of quarters ago, which is that buy corporate banks, don't buy retail banks, buy cyclicals, don't buy consumers. Are we at that turn now?
No, so we continue to stick with financials and consumers. Believe a lot going for that space over the next 1.5 years. So would be very surprised if other spaces end up outperforming these spaces. So yes, others can bounce up once in a while, but in terms of secular nature of news flow, in terms of secular nature of earnings that these spaces will demonstrate, we really believe this is where the performance will lie over the next 1.5 years.
Right. Prateek, this morning we are talking about financials and financials all the way. Starting off with PSU banks, do you think what Canara Bank and Bank of Baroda have reported is a sign of things to improve for PSU banks finally, or at least for the larger banks minus SBI?
No, yes, the corporate banks have provided quite a bit. They have recognized the bad loans. So clearly the sense is that the worst is behind. However, the loan growth has not really happened. The growth capital is scarce in that space. And what happens in banking is that even if it is very well done, a part of the loans will go bad. Now, if the base is not increasing, that part will look larger as we go forward. So, first part of the problem addressed, maybe yes, but now they really need to get growth capital and grow in a meaningful manner through good lending. So, the second part, the evidence of that we still need to see. But that said, yes, from where they are, a bounce should be expected. In the past period, after the bank provisionings were done in the late 90s, in early 2000s, was a glorious year period for PSU banks. Something to the same effect should happen probably starting next year, maybe the year after, and it will persist for 3 to 4 years. So that's something we are very watchful about. While as you know, we have stayed away from PSU banks for good 7-8 years now. But yes, that's a possibility that we are very watchful about.
What is it, Prateek, that you're making of the two-wheelers? Because they've been thrashed pretty hard after their entire, pricing warfare let out by Bajaj Auto Management's commentary. Stocks at a 52-week high, Hero, TVS, or for that matter, Bajaj. Is there opportunity in buying into these names, or do you think there are better opportunities available in the market outside of this cluster?
No, so this space is a very high quality space. People make a huge amount of money. ROCs are very high in this space. So no two views on that. The problem in this space is growth. It's a very well penetrated space of all the auto spaces. This is the space which is seen the highest amount of penetration. Compare it to where, let's say, cycles were 15 years back, 20 years back. That category hardly sees growth anymore. That's our issue with two-wheelers. We believe growth in this part will be scarce. So then the story is premiumization. You get on building bikes which are not 100cc, maybe 125cc, maybe 150, maybe sports bikes, etc. And then graduate customers to those bikes and make money. As long as that was the game, it was being played well with an iShare. That name has done very well. And I still believe that's the best of the pack to play that game. Bajaj was attempting it, and everybody was having the space to try and do their bit. But now, if one very powerful player, instead of trying to premiumize, wants to increase market share, it's a very capable player at the end of the day. Whether it increases market share or not remains to be seen, but the threat on everybody else is real.
So Prateek, where else are you finding opportunity then in the market?
Yeah, so like I said, consumers and banks are where we find opportunities. In the financial space, not banks, financial space, many more businesses are getting listed. So there is a huge amount of focus on private sector versus public sector, but what has gone probably less commented on is banks, new banks. Banks which are focused on SME lending, on microfinance, etc. That's a space to be clearly seen. That's a more profitable space. With technology, it's become very scalable. So be it banks, be it NBFCs focused on that space, they have done really well. In fact, some of the faster growing entities in the banking space want to talk first of their microfinance business rather than the main corporate lending business. So I think the market would start to focus on that space more and more going forward. Two fee-based businesses are getting listed. We have had a Reliance mutual fund which is listed now, and HDFC is coming. There were other predominantly fee-based businesses which are listed. This is a space where valuations are frankly lesser than FMCG. Capital efficiency is more than FMCG. So mutual fund business does not require capital after it has become profitable. People can pay out over 90% of profits. Profits are all cash, and yet the valuations at which some of them are getting listed are significantly below where FMCGs are trading. So we really believe that's another space to be focused on.
Right. What would you avoid in this market, and what has stood out in terms of a trend that does not signal optimism in the earnings that you've seen so far?
So, okay, one thing that did catch my eye was, in spite of all the positivity that's being attached to low-cost housing, affordable housing space, businesses which are focused there have not really delivered the growth that they themselves were delivering in the past. It's a tad lower than that. What is happening there to our mind is that while there are people who want to take a loan, who want to build a low-cost house, etc. So there is no problem in the thesis there. Problem is it is choking the bandwidth of entities focused on that space, and it hurts because after having selected 30-40% of the people who are approaching them for loans, a lot of the rejections happen thereafter. So lot of rules probably need to be smoothened out in that space for the space to really grow to its potential. So that is something that caught the eye. Otherwise, the result season is going well. In fact, it should be expected to do well. Economic growth has returned. Company after company who we end up meeting, both in the listed space and unlisted space, are let me say singing pains in favor of GST. Which was not the case earlier. Just after GST, we heard troubles, but now 99.99% people who I end up meeting are talking very positively about GST. So the uptick in the organized sector, in the compliant sector is definitely there, and we really believe the results will showcase an uptick. The commentary in general will be more positive, and that should help the breadth of the market increase from what it used to be just a week, 10 days back.
Prateek, great speaking with you. Thanks so much for taking the time out and talking about what you're feeling about the markets.